UFC Fight Night, Jan versus Dvalishvili is this week, and I'm going to be giving you a breakdown of the entire card from start to finish. So without further ado, let's get into the first fight. After a crazy past weekend with John Jones versus Cyril Gane, we start off with Sedriques Dumas versus Josh Fremd. Dumas 7-0, 27 years of age, 79 inches of reach. Fremd 9-4, 29 years of age and 76.5 inches of reach. Dumas will have a 2.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Sedriques Dumas. His previous matchup was against Mataj Penaz on the Contender Series. Hopefully I said that right. And Josh Fremd, he almost got, murdered by Tresean Gore in his last fight. Tresean Gore definitely tried, but Josh Fremd is back to actually do another matchup here. That guillotine choke was absolutely ruthless. He was just dragging him by his neck, like bending him back. It was a very ruthless submission there, but very bad submission loss there. Lost to Anthony Hernandez, which isn't bad either. So he did come into the UFC to take on Anthony Hernandez. Got choked out pretty badly by Tresean Gore. I do think Sedriques Dumas will eventually take him out of this fight. I think first round, probably same thing with typology here. They think TKO KO, and then a lot of people think submission also. I'm sorry, 14% by submission, 67% by KO TKO. So I'm going to go with Sedriques Dumas by finish. I'm not too sure exactly how. I think he might drop him and then put him in a submission, or he might just put him out and then just TKO him. But he's a pretty marketable guy. He's got like face tats and everything. We'll see how this one goes. But yeah, I think he just gets the finish. I'm not sure how though. It could be by sub or TKO, but I can definitely see it TKO. More probable than the others for sure. Up the card, we have Raphael Assuncao versus Davey Grant. Assuncao 27-9, 40 years of age, 66.5 inches of reach. Grant 12-6, 37 years of age, 69 inches of reach. Davey Grant will have a 2.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Davey Grant. I was a little worried about this one. I actually kind of had to think about this one a little bit because Assuncao surprisingly won his last fight against Victor Henry, which that way surprised me. He was on a pretty big skid there. He is 40 years old, but his fight before the Victor Henry decision win, Ricky Simone he lost to by KO, Cody Garbrandt by KO, Corey Sandhagen by decision, Marlon Moraes by submission. For Davey Grant, last fight 9 months ago against Louis Smolka, it was a really entertaining fight there. Went to a split decision against Adrian Yanez. It was actually a pretty close fight, and Adrian Yanez is a pretty good fighter. So I'm going to go with Davey Grant here. I think he can make it pretty scrappy, and I think he can end up hurting Assuncao in this matchup. And yeah, I think he can probably finish Assuncao later, mid to late in this matchup. I think Assuncao kind of got free with that Victor Henry fight, and I think Davey Grant can put a lot of damage on him. These are both kind of older guys, so we'll see how this one goes. But I think the length, I think the power of Davey Grant will definitely help him here against Assuncao. So I'm going to go Davey Grant by TKO, KO finish, late round TKO. So later second, early third, or third round TKO. Up the card, we have Carlston Harris versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Harris 17-5, 35 years of age, 76 inches of reach. Nurmagomedov 17-3, 33 years of age and 73 inches of reach. Harris will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Carlston Harris. His previous matchups were against Shavkat Rakhmonov, which was his last matchup. He got wheel kicked, which was actually a pretty impressive win for Shavkat. Not a bad loss to necessarily have. Lost to Impa Kasanagane. I hope I said that right. And then Christian Aguilera. He won those matchups, which were pretty decent wins. Abubakar Nurmagomedov beat Gadzhi Omargadzhiev in his last fight, which is a pretty good win. Beat Jared Gooden and then lost to David Zawada. So I am going to go with Carlston Harris. I think he is good on the feet and he can do good work on the ground, and I think he can probably win this fight by submission. I think Abubakar kind of gasses a little bit, and I think he can get it done for sure. I'm going to go Carlston Harris by a, let's see, what do we have for typology here? I think I'm going to go Carlston Harris by submission in this one. A lot of people are saying submission for Carlston Harris, 55%, if I can speak, for Carlston Harris in this one, for the 58% that did choose him. So I am going to go with submission for Carlston Harris in this one. Up the card, we have Tony Gravely versus Victor Henry. Gravely 23-8, 31 years of age, 69 inches of reach. Henry's 22-6, 35 years of age and 68 inches of reach. Gravely will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Victor Henry in this matchup. I am not super confident in it because of his last match. I kind of just went over it in the previous prediction, but his previous matchup against Raphael Assuncao, he did lose very weirdly after beating Raoni Barcelos. I think, what was it, short notice coming in? Very weird. Raoni Barcelos is a really good fighter. But Tony Gravely lost to Javid Bashrat in his last matchup, who is a very good fighter. We beat Johnny Munoz Jr., beat Simon Oliveira, who's solid, and then lost to Nate Maness, which is a very interesting loss to have at this point, because I don't even know what the hell Nate Maness is, whatever he is as a fighter at this point. But I am going to go with Victor Henry. I think he can get it done on the feet. I think a win over Raoni Barcelos is good enough for me. Maybe he was just off in his last fight is what I'm hoping. 35 years old, 31 years old. Yeah, I think I still am going to go with Victor Henry. I think he's going to be a lot better on the feet. Yeah, so I'm going to go Victor Henry in this matchup. Quite a bit of people have Victor Henry also by decision. I think I'll go decision also. I don't think there's any finishing ability in this matchup for Victor Henry's. Up the card, we have Tyson Nam versus Bruno Silva. Nam 21-12, 39 years of age, 68 inches of reach. Silva 12-5, 32 years of age and 66 inches of reach. Nam will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this one. I am going to go with Bruno Silva. I think he does take care of Tyson Nam in this matchup. Tyson Nam, 39 years old. Bruno Silva, still decently young, almost 33 years old. So he's in that prime years of his career. Tyson Nam getting a KO victory over Ode Osborne, which was pretty sweet. Lost to Matt Schnell by split decision a year before for that last fight with Ode Osborne. Beat Jerome Rivera, beat Zaruk Adishev, and lost to Kai Kara France. For Bruno Silva, knocked out his last opponent pretty brutally, Victor Rodriguez. We don't talk about JP Bays. I feel bad for that dude. Lost to Tagir Uliambekov. Lost to David Dvorak, which isn't bad either. But yeah, I'm going to go with Bruno Silva. I think he can do enough damage, and I think he can use some of his wrestling grappling, put him to the ground, control him on the ground also. He has looked really good in that last matchup. It was Victor Rodriguez, but I think he can do enough here, mix in everything, and avoid some of those bigger power shots from Nam and win this matchup. So I'm going to go with Bruno Silva by a decision. A lot of people are saying decision here, 49% decision. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Nam. A lot of people are 60% of the 25% of Silva is saying decision. Wrong person. A lot of people are choosing Nam for this matchup. I am going to go with Bruno Silva. I think he does mix it in on him. I think he does get the win here. Up the card, we have Mario Bautista versus Guido Cannetti. Bautista 11-2, 29 years of age, 69 inches of reach. Cannetti 10-6, 43 years of age, and 68 inches of reach. Bautista will have a 1-inch reach advantage. I am going to go with Mario Bautista. I think he does get it done pretty good in this matchup. Guido Cannetti, 43 years old, which is a pretty big number. Let's be real. He's a very old man. His last couple wins, though, against Randy Costa and Chris Moutinho, which are not the best wins to have. I don't even think Randy Costa is in the UFC anymore. Chris Moutinho is definitely not in the UFC. Lost to Mano Martinez, lost to Dana Becquerel, lost to Marlon Vera, which aren't necessarily bad ones. Bad losses to have in general. Where Mario Bautista destroyed Benito Lopez, looked really good, especially against a Benito Lopez, who's a pretty good fighter. Brian Kelleher looked good in there, and then looked good against Jay Perrin. Lost to Trevin Jones recently, but has looked pretty good in his last couple fights. Has really turned it on. I think he does get the sub in this matchup. I think he has. Yeah, I just think he gets the sub here. I think he's been looking pretty dominant lately. A lot of people think he gets the sub. I do as well. Up the card, we have JJ Aldrich versus Ariane Lipski. Aldrich 11-5, 30 years of age, 67.5 inches of reach. Lipski 14-8, 29 years of age and 67 inches of reach. Aldrich will have a 1/2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I am going to go with JJ Aldrich. It's one of these matchups. She has lost to Erin Blanchfield in her last matchup, which isn't a bad loss to have. I think she actually looked pretty decent in this matchup too. Beat Gillian Robinson, which isn't a bad win to have. She's really good at jiu-jitsu. Beat Vanessa Demopoulos. I don't even know what you can take from that win. And yeah, those... I mean, she hasn't had too much experience against some of the top people, but for Ariane Lipski, lost to Priscilla Cachoeira by KO. Beat Mandy Bohm, which isn't a bad win. Lost to Montana De La Rosa. Lost to Antonina Shevchenko. and beat Luana Carolina. I think I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to go JJ Aldrich and take the favorite here. I think she gets it done by decision. Up the card, we have Lukasz Brzeski versus Carl Wiliams. Brzeski 8-2, 30 years of age and 78 inches of reach. Wiliams 7-1, 33 years of age and 79 inches of reach. Wiliams will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Brzeski, I believe is how you say that name. Brzeski. His last matchup, I believe he did beat Martin Buday. It was a split decision loss that he had. I think that was kind of a robbery, let's be real. I think he did beat Martin Buday, and Martin Buday beat the GOAT at the heavyweight division, Chris Barnett. So take that how you will. It's a very great win to have. But for Carl Wiliams, he beat Jimmy Lawson, who was really not that good of a win. Jimmy Lawson's just I don't even know what to even say. Like, respectfully, not in shape to be fighting, nor to be in that division at all. He's just sweating. He's extremely gassed immediately in that fight. And, couldn't really take much from Carl Wiliams in that one for sure. But I am going to go with Brzeski. A lot of people on Tapology are taking Brzeski. I think he just outstrikes him on the feet. I think we'll see a decision here. I think he's able to avoid some of the takedowns from Carl Wiliams. So I'm going to go with Brzeski in this matchup. A win over Martin Buday, who's a very good fighter himself. I think that's a pretty good win to have. So let's move on. Up the card, we had Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. Krylov, 29-9, 30 years of age and 77.5 inches of reach. Spann, 21-7, 31 years of age and 81.5 inches of reach. Spann will have a 4-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I am going to change my pick. I'm going to go Ryan Spann. And I think it's because Nikita Krylov got extremely sick right before their last matchup, before this had to get moved to this card. He got pretty sick. I think although he is pretty much good all around in this division and all around in general, more well-rounded for sure than Ryan Spann, I think Ryan Spann can catch him and put him away. It seemed like, not saying that Ryan Spann wasn't training, because the dude was definitely training. I don't know why he said that after his last matchup, but it seems like he really, really is invested in his career. I don't know. I think we'll stop seeing some of the inconsistencies we saw from Ryan Spann in his career, like the Anthony Smith loss, the Johnny Walker loss. I think he'll start to go on a little bit of a run here. I think he beat Ian Cutelaba. He beat, not that I think, but he did. He beat Ian Cutelaba. He beat Dominic Reyes. For Nikita Krylov, his last couple, Volkan Oezdemir and Alexander Gustafsson. I do understand that Volkan Oezdemir did hurt him in that fight, and he was able to recover, but I do think Ryan Spann just hurts him. I think he hurts him again. We'll see Nikita Krylov kind of circle around. Ryan Spann catch him again, drops to a knee, and I think he just unloads a couple punches, wins by TKO. I'm going to go Ryan Spann in this one. If I'm wrong, I'll be completely fine with it. I like Nikita Krylov quite a bit, but I do think Ryan Spann ends up catching him just because of that sickness that he did have. It is 50-50 at this point. A lot of people are saying Spann by KO, TKO, which I think makes quite a bit of sense, but not a lot of people. I guess it's kind of split on decision and KO. But I do think Spann gets it done. The sickness from Krylov after that last matchup, he's going to have to cut weight again. I'm going to edge Spann here. He was like really emotional after that fight fell through. So I think it seems like he's super dedicated to the sport. Not saying he wasn't training, but I do think he's a little bit more invested in his career at this point than the inconsistencies we did see. I think he's not going to be as willing to give up in a little bit of these fights that he had. So I'm going to go with Ryan Spann in this one by TKO, late first round. I think he catches Krylov, and I think he just unloads against him against the fence. So up the card, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Austin Lingo. Ramos, 16-4, 27 years of age, 72 inches of reach. Lingo, 9-1, 28 years of age and 70 inches of reach. Ramos will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I am going to go with Ricardo Ramos by decision. Yeah, we got 86% of Tapology saying that also. I think Ramos win against Danny Chavez by spinning back elbow. And then he came on short notice to get in that fight. I guess, I'm sorry, this is the submission circuit. So let me actually dive into this so I can break it down a little bit more here. If my mouse can work. So yeah, I saw that pop up and I was a little confused. But he was on this like a submission circus. I guess it's a little submission wrestling thing that he was on, but lost to Zubair Tukhugov, beat Bill Algeo, which is a decent one to have, lost to Lerone Murphy, beat Eduardo Garaguri, how do you say it? Lost to Saeed Nurmagomedov, beat Jordan Newsom. So he's beating a certain level of fighters for sure. But let's look at his opponent real quick. Austin Lingo win over Luis Saldana, beat Jacob Kilburn, lost to Yusef Zalal. So they're kind of in the same spot here, but I am going to go Ricardo Ramos by decision. I think he's going to be able to incorporate his wrestling and grappling and be able to mix it in with his striking. So I'm going to go Ricardo Ramos by decision in this one. Up the card, we have Vitor Petrino versus Anton Turkalj. Vitor Petrino, 7-0, 25 years of age and 77.5 inches of reach. Turkalj, 8-1, 26 years of age and 78 inches of reach. Turkalj will have a half-inch reach advantage in this one. I think I am going to go with Vitor Petrino. I think he has a lot of power in his hands. I think he's a very, very, very big dude. He's going to be able to out-muscle Anton Turkalj. I know Anton Turkalj did a really good job wrestling and grappling in his fight on the Contender Series against Acacio Dos Santos, I believe how you say it, and then ended up getting fed the Jilton Almeida. I believe went to a catch weight for that matchup, and I think he did decent, but obviously he fought Jilton Almeida, so he kind of got destroyed too. So Vitor Petrino looked really good against Rodolfo Bellato. I believe that was a rematch from when they fought in the region. Let me check. Yeah, Rodolfo Bellato, first fight, and then most recent fight for sure. I guess Rodolfo Bellato wanted that fight back, but ended up getting KO'd again. So Vitor Petrino, very big dude, is decent in some grappling wrestling position. I think he's only going to get better in those positions. Also, he's only 25 years old. I think there's a lot of improvement there. He's very, very heavy hands. I think he's going to be able to KO Anton Turkalj for sure. And I think he's going to be able to avoid some of those takedowns from Turkalj. So I'm thinking maybe a second round early KO or maybe a late first round KO for Vitor Petrino. I think his just hands are too big, and I think he's going to be too strong and be able to defend some of those takedowns because of his strength. Because Anton Turkalj, I think he's just going to catch him, try and go in for a takedown, get the underhooks really quickly, throw him off, and then just land some really good shots and put Anton Turkalj out. So Vitor Petrino by a KO, late first or early second round in this matchup. Up the card, we have Said Nurmagomedov versus Jonathan Martinez. Nurmagomedov, 17-2, 30 years of age and 70 inches of reach. Martinez, 17-4, 28 years of age and 69.5 inches of reach. Nurmagomedov will have a half-inch reach advantage in this one. I am going to go with Said Nurmagomedov. I think, after his last matchup against Said Yakob Kakhramonov, which is a very good fighter, he looked very good in that matchup. He was able to get a submission on him too, and Kakhramonov is a very, very, very good fighter. So a guy like Jonathan Martinez, who just came off a fight against Cub Swanson, I guess won that fight, looked pretty impressive there, had some really heavy hands, beat Vince Morales, beat Alejandro Perez, lost to Davey Grant. I think Said Nurmagomedov is going to be able to get it done, mix it in a little bit. He might get a sub in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to get a sub on Said Yakob Kakhramonov. The grappling is for sure a threat here. So I think I am going to go with the decision for Said Nurmagomedov, but I think it is possible that he may get a submission here. But I am going to go with a decision for Nurmagomedov in this one. But I think it is very possible that he can get a sub here. Only about 31 years old. I think he's still not necessarily crazy improvements, but I think he's still improving. He's looking really good. He's very good on the feet also. I think Jonathan Martinez is a little dangerous on the feet, but I think Said can mix it up a little bit, go at a pretty fast pace for Jonathan Martinez and get it done. So decision for Said Nurmagomedov, maybe a submission at like midway through the end of the second round for sure. Up the card, we have Alexander Volkov versus Alexander Romanov. Volkov, 35-10, 34 years of age, 80 inches of reach. Romanov, 16-1, 32 years of age and 75 inches of reach. Volkov will have a 5-inch reach advantage in this one. I think I am going to go with Romanov, and this is a very weird matchup because Romanov just lost to Marcin Tybura in his last match. I believe it should have been a draw. And I believe Salt Lake City on that Usman Edwards card, but should have been a draw. Did get his first loss in ever. Volkov coming off a win against Jairzinho Rozenstruik and a loss to Tom Aspinall. Yeah, I am going to go with Volkov here. I think the reason why Romanov didn't keep the pedal on the gas in that last fight, it was because it was at altitude and he kind of did struggle with the cardio there. I think it was a very unfortunate circumstance there. It should have been a draw. Got a 10-8, I believe, in that first round. I may be mistaken. You got a 10-8 in like that first round. Altitude kind of got to him, tired him out quite a bit. And yeah, so I think he's just going to be able to ragdoll Volkov in this fight. Volkov is very dangerous on the feet. He does have some chances on the ground too, but I think Romanov is going to be able to ragdoll him here. I think he's going to be able to get it done. Yeah, I think, well, we have 33% Romanov, 67% Volkov, so this should be pretty interesting. I don't know if he necessarily gets the sub. He might get the sub, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised, but Volkov's a very big dude too. We'll see how this one goes. 6'7" for Volkov. Very, very tall. 6'2" for Romanov. Yeah, but I do think he's going to be able to ragdoll him. I think it's either going to be a submission or a decision for this one for Romanov. So that's what happened. Up the card for our main event, we have Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili, otherwise known as the cuck of the bantamweight division. We have Yan, 16-4, 30 years of age and 67 inches of reach. Dvalishvili, 15-4, 32 years of age and 68 inches of reach. Dvalishvili will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this one. I am going to go with Petr Yan, and actually he's only 30 years old, so I don't know why. It kind of seems like Petr Yan has been here for a while. Seems like one of those older fighters. He got it to the top very quickly. His last couple matchups, split decision loss to Sean O'Malley, split decision loss to Aljamain Sterling, beat Corey Sandhagen, lost to Aljamain Sterling due to a disqualification, and beat Jose Aldo by KO. Merab Dvalishvili beat Jose Aldo by decision, beat Marlon Moraes in a pretty fun fight by KO, beat Cody Stamann, beat John Dodson. So I am going to go with Petr Yan here. I think he's going to be able to defend some of the takedowns from Merab Dvalishvili. I guess I don't need to say his whole name, but I think he's going to be able to defend some of the takedowns. I think as the fight goes on, we'll see Petr Yan start making his way through this fight. I think now he's back in 5-round fights. He's a little bit more comfortable here. He's had a lot of 5-round fights. Can't really say the same about Merab. He hasn't had any. And I think he's going to be able to do quite a bit of damage here as the fight goes on. I think probably not necessarily midway, but I think he's going to be a little bit more patient here. I think he's going to be defending the takedowns early on in this fight, focusing more on that. And I think he's going to get super comfortable, figure out Merab a little bit more. And I think he's going to hurt Merab a lot. And I think this will probably be like a 4th-round TKO is what I have imagining him in my brain. I think he's going to hurt Merab very badly. I think he starts putting it on Merab towards like the end of that second. And then in 3rd round, I think he starts landing pretty good. Merab starts shooting him for takedowns. I think he actually catches Merab in that 4th round, puts him down very badly, and wins by TKO. We saw Merab Dvalishvili get almost pretty much lose that fight against Marlon Moraes before coming back and TKOing Marlon Moraes in like that 2nd round. But yeah, he got caught by Marlon Moraes very badly. Almost got put out, and I think Petr Yan can do the same here. I think as the fight goes on, you'll see Merab failing a couple takedowns, and I think he'll start to tire out, and I think Petr Yan will definitely take advantage of that around the 4th round. Maybe the late third round, but I think 4th round is a good spot to, at least in my brain, for when I see Petr Yan catching a guy like Merab Dvalishvili. But Petr Yan will have his quarterman here, so it's not going to be like an Aljamain Sterling where he gets on his back the whole fight and backpacks him and all that shit, or holds him against the fence. Petr Yan's a very strong guy. No mercy on. He's going to be ruthless in there. He's going to catch Merab and hurt him very badly and finish him off. So I'm going to go with Petr Yan here. Very unfortunate situation that we have here with Merab. In all honesty, I wish he would fight for the title. I mean, that'd be very interesting, just seeing Merab versus Aljamain Sterling, but I guess they just don't want to fight each other. I think he just cares more about Aljamain Sterling than the title, which is, I mean, it's pretty cool to have, but like, come on, bro. It's kind of like holding up the division a little bit, but at least he's fighting some of the contenders, or at least he's fighting some of the contenders for Aljamain Sterling, but at least it is Petr Yan, so we don't have to worry about that. He did beat Jose Aldo, so that one was a little rough, but I think Petr Yan can get it done by KO in that 4th round. So that's what I have for the video. I actually kind of had to rush through this card because I am traveling at least for the week for spring break and whatever. So I have to unload a bunch of videos, film them all, and then place them and schedule them. So this video was kind of rushed a little bit, but I tried to break down as much as I could. I did a little bit of work before the actual UFC 285 card. So let me know who you guys think will win in this main event between Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you guys next